What's up, fam? We back at it again. Had some technical difficulties, man. But it won't stop us from doing what we need to do, man. We back at it, got it fired up again. Gonna get through this one, family. Got a TSC sports coma coming up later on. We're gonna recap some of the news of the day. Mike Thomas has a high ankle sprain. We'll cover that. We'll play some interviews later on. I think the show will be slided for maybe 6 o'clock today. Y'all just check your notifications for the TSC. We'll cover that later on today. All right, without further ado, we're coming back in the Big Q. Got Uncle Maz in the building. He's back as well. As we'll get back into some of the news and notes items. Uncle Maz, how you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. We back. We fired up.
All right, back in. We're going to get into the NBA playoffs. We're going to recap that stuff as well. First week of NFL action. Talk about a little coaching search news as far as the NBA is concerned. And maybe on the back end of the scores, we'll give some updates on a few injuries that have occurred. Well, Milton Mack, Indianapolis running back, is on the IR. David Johnson, the running back who the Texans gave up D. Hopkins for, is also dealing with an injury. Go figure with that one, right? But anyway, we'll get right into the NBA scores on this one, man. Lakers won 1996. They advanced against the Rockets into the Western Conference Finals. No real surprise right there. LeBron James put on a good performance in that matchup. He finished with 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in the affair. James Harden, 30 points. Harden with 36 and 5. LeBron had 29, 11, and 7 as the Lakers pushed past the Rockets with relative ease in this matchup to move past into the Western Conference Finals, which are slated to start coming up Friday. So there you go. A lot of interesting stuff going on, man, in that regard. But as far as the weekend NBA action is concerned, the Nuggets really surprised me. They were able to get some stuff going because they were trailing this series, man, facing elimination 3-1. But they won the 111 and 105 on Friday to force the series to a 3-2 deal. And then they come back on Sunday and beat the Clippers 111 and 98 in the matchup to force a 7-game series against the Clippers, man. I just don't understand how Doc Rivers was allowed that to happen. There's a lot of credits that's been given to Coach Malone of the Denver Nuggets, who's done a terrific job this offseason making adjustments as Jokic continues to be the man. The Joker turning it up. He had 34 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists in 40 minutes, 13 of 22 from the field, 4 of 6 from downtown, 4 of 5 from the line. As the Joker carried his team, Jamal Murray threw in 21 points in the matchup in 41 minutes, 16 from Gary Harris. He drew in some points as well, 13 off the bench from Michael Porter, 10 from Diop, as the Nuggets forced the series. And despite the play of Leonard, who continues to play well, 25 points in the game, Paul George had 33 to lead the team, 11 for Jeff Green, but everybody else struggled, including Patrick Beverly. He really didn't give him too much. 11 and 14 off the bench for Sweet Lou Williams. Wasn't enough. Denver took it 111 to 98. Mozzie, this is your bell cow, man. The Nuggets are now facing. They pushed it to a 7-game, man, against the Clippers, who had them on the verge of elimination. They needed to win 2 games to keep the series alive. They did that. What do you got to say for that?
Well, first off, I want to give you a quick lesson. I'm not the sharpest pencil in the toolbox, but you used the word, and I just want to make sure we all on the same page. As I look it up on my fancy device here, it says surprise. The definition of surprise is to capture, attack, or discover suddenly and unexpectedly, catch unawareness, or catch unawares. Okay, obviously that wasn't the case because I wasn't surprised, caught off guard, or nothing by this development. I told you that's what we do. We spot people 2 and 3 games, come back, gas them up, and catch them. This was never, ever not on my radar or some kind of sneak attack or surprise. I already knew what time it was. We just had to make the adjustments accordingly. Were the adjustments slightly more difficult than Utah? Yeah, because we had settled in to play a Utah team, and we got to this Clippers team. It was totally different. But we had already been in that, I guess, in that kind of gameplay mode or that mindset. So it was hard to, it was kind of hard for us to adjust and figure out exactly what we needed to do against this team. And I'm gonna tell you, that game 5 was kind of a doozy, but I'm gonna say maybe with 5 or 6 minutes left to go in the third quarter, we kind of find our groove. I think we got the recipe now, bro. I don't know if you really paid attention, because I know they had a lot of NFL action going on, and you were probably going back and forth between it. But since my reputation was on the line, and the Saints didn't play till 3, I was kind of in an exclusive relationship with that game, and I had to see them home. And what I saw about the 5-6 minute mark of that third quarter, man, Denver kicked it into another gear, an unanswerable gear, where it's seemingly etched in stone that they got the Clippers number. They kind of expounded upon it in game 5, and then they went away from it beginning of game 6, then they went back to it about the 5-6 minute mark in quarter number 3, and that was it. I don't see them beating these people. They have all the momentum. They have everything. They've got the game plan, the momentum. Nobody has home court advantage, so it's going to be a rough go for the Clippers to come out and just beat these people, because I think at this point they don't have an answer. They know they don't have an answer, and it's almost like punching somebody with the hardest punch you could possibly hit them with. They turn around, spit, and then tell you something like, "Come on." You ain't gonna know what to do. You're gonna probably try to run the other way as fast as you possibly can, and I think that's what they're strapping up, getting ready to do.
You mean tell me if somebody hit him and he do like a Logan from the comic books, "That's all you got, bub"? You mean that kind of stuff?
Yeah. One of them type of things. Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, you better get the hell out of there. You better get the hell out of there. If you hit somebody with everything you got and then he just spits out a little blood and say, "If that's all you got, bub," you in trouble, buddy. You're definitely in trouble. All right, let's move to the next one, man. We'll see that one. I'll be watching the game 7. Anything can happen in game 7. But listen, does it sway me? GM Kev said the Clips still got it in 7. Listen, anything can happen in the game 7, and it's a psychological advantage that has to go to Denver, because for them to have the intestinal fortitude and the heart to be able to stave off elimination twice, to win 2 games to stay valid, man, listen, anything can happen in game 7. Let's go on to another one of Shwami Maz's predictions. Of course, Boston, we kind of already knew this was going to happen. Boston pushed to a game 7, even though Mazzi didn't say it was going to be a game 7. He did say it would be a sweep fest. He had to break out the brooms. They might get one win, but Toronto, who are the defending champions, forced to see the series into a 7-game situation, in which Boston was able to. It was an entertaining game, by the way. Boston was able to take it 92 to 87 in the close affair, behind Tatum's 29 points, 21 from Jaylen Brown in the matchup. And then, of course, 20 from Fred VanVleet led his effort. Lowry finished with 16 points, 14 off the bench from Serge Ibaka. Pascal Siakam finished with 13 points, 11 rebounds, wasn't enough. Celtics advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat. You want to comment on this one as well, Mozzie?
Yeah, I mean, again, this was something that we already knew. Although VanVleet and Lowry, they're remarkable players. They're just far too small. Boston is just far too young. They're much longer. And those who aren't quite as long or have the length, they're a lot bigger team. Lowry and VanVleet, although they kind of chunky, they're really, really short. They almost built like running backs more than point guards. So it just was inevitable. They didn't have enough. They're in the East, so I mean they did kind of wing their way through it. I think that largely playing at home in Toronto, they played really good there. We eliminated that by playing in the bubble. As per a lot of teams, Milwaukee had the same issue. Clippers are obviously having the same issue. But some of these lower tier teams who don't really rely on fan support or fanfare that much, it just really doesn't bother them. They came there to hoop. Those are the ones who seem to be thriving. The Miamis and the Celtics and the Lakers. I mean, these people, they don't need a fan base or a fandom that has 6 man or 7th man to try to come in and win for them. They're just gonna go out there and do it themselves on their own merit, and that's kind of where they are. No knock on and I'm not taking anything away from what the Celtics have been able to do, but Toronto they kind of faked it all year long. They're in the East, not real big competition. They got to beat up on the likes of the Wizards and Orlando and a couple other trash can teams, and they padded the stats and made it look good. But again, when you get down to this level of competition and this level of play, you're playing the best of the best night in and night out. Not Monday, then again on Friday, then again the following Thursday. So you kind of got the best of the best back to back to back to back. And any flaws or chinks in your armor, they're gonna stick out, like a sore thumb. And I mean, that's kind of what we saw with Toronto. It's definitely what we saw with Milwaukee, and it's more than likely what we're gonna see with the Clippers come tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. As Tuesday afternoon is the both of the games will happen. The Heat and the Celtics will start the Eastern Conference Finals Game 1, 5:40 Central Time on Tuesday. And of course, 8 o'clock that same day, the Nuggets and Clippers will see in Game 7 who will advance against a well-rested, it's going to be a well-rested LeBron and AD-led Laker club who won't start the Western Conference Finals until Friday. So it'll be interesting, man, to see what shakes between those teams in an interesting day of basketball on Tuesday, and we'll preview those games tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Now, moving into some of the NBA hiring and firing news, of course, with that loss, Mike D'Antoni reported that he will not be the coach of the Rockets in the upcoming season. And of course, we knew that. We knew that if he couldn't march them and the small ball thing ran out, the luster is gone. The James Harden is still there. The Russell Westbrook experiment was a failure. And look what they're doing, man. They were took to the brink of it by an OKC team led by rejuvenated Chris Paul, who was healthy for the first time in a long time deep in the playoffs. And the Houston are looking for a head coach now. So you have teams that Houston, Steve Nash joined Brooklyn, so that takes him off the list. The Indiana Pacers still need a coach. So do the Philadelphia Sixers, who have Tyronn Lue on the mantle. Of course, our Pelicans, the Chicago Bulls, who got rid of Jim Boylan, who got sucker punched by a fan who was given, how much time was it, Ray? I mean, Mozzie, he was like, what? I forgot how much time it is. It's like 10 years.
I think the fan got like 10 years or something like that.
10 years for sucker punching. Right, it's big.
Yeah, 10 years. He's not gonna do all of that, but yeah, he did. Yeah, he got 10 years for that. They're just not. I mean, they're not going for that. They're not tolerating that. Ever since that thing happened back in 04, 05 between Indiana and Detroit, the NBA, and they're not tolerating that anymore. Period.
Right. It's meant to be over the top to discourage any activity like that happening. But Chicago, New Orleans, Philly, Indiana, and Houston are all teams looking at head coaches moving forward in the NBA. All right, jumping into some NFL news. A lot happened in the NFL in week 1. Seattle, we start off with the Atlanta Hawks and the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson took it to them 38-25, and I'm really happy the stinking Falcons got their issue yesterday, 31-35 for Russell Westbrook, 322 yards, 4 touchdowns in the performance against the Falcons. He also was the top rusher with 3 carries for 29 yards in the affair. DK Metcalf had 4 catches for 95 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyler Lockett was the man, 8 catches, 92 yards against the Falcons. Matt Ryan, 37-54, 450 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the pick. Was sacked a couple of times on the day. Gurley held under 60 yards, 14 carries, 56 yards with 1 score. Julio Jones balled but didn't have any touchdowns. 9 catches, 157 yards on the day. But Calvin Ridley, the guy I keep telling y'all going to eventually replace him, 9 catches for 130 yards, did get 2 scores in the game. Russell Gage showed up big time too. None of that meant the damn thing. They still lose by double digits, 38-25. Mozzie, quickly, what's the thoughts on this one?
Well, hey, I'm gonna just be honest with you, man. Seattle, Russell, man, hey, that was a lights out. 31-35 for like 335 or 36 yards. That's tripping. That lets you know he wasn't just like dinking and dunking the whole game, and he was beating his feet. I think he understands that he's kind of on the clock. He's only got a set amount of time left before it's up, it's over with. I think he understands that. He knows that for sure, 100%. And he's playing lights out. He played really good last season, but I think this season, with the rejuvenated kind of sense of urgency, kind of a rehash team, they're looking to do to kind of rejuvenate the Legion of Boom up there, man. It's gonna be it's definitely a new day for Seattle. And look, Atlanta, no knock on them, because they've done a really good job in the offseason of picking up a few pieces and making a few additions, trying to make a run, understanding what they were up against in this division with the addition of Bridgewater and a new look out in Carolina with McCaffrey playing lights out. Obviously, Brady and what they've done in Tampa Bay, and Drew Brees and what we had put together in New Orleans, probably, top 3 to 5 team on paper in the NFL. Atlanta kind of, they made a lot of off-season acquisitions and moves too. But, I mean, when you got a quarterback that's also doubles as your lead rusher and the defense chipped in, and although it wasn't an impeccable performance, when you could hold, your defense could hold them to 3 touchdowns and your guy could put up 5 or 6 touchdowns, I mean, that's a recipe for winning all day long.
All right, we're going to move to the rest of these NFL games. Here, the Bills got the win by 10 over the Jets, 27-17 behind Josh Allen, who's my fantasy player, by the way. 33 of 46 for 312, 2 touchdowns in the matchup. Plus, he had 14 rushes for 57 yards in the score there. So 3 touchdowns, basically, for the stud Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills. They get a 10-point win over the Jets, whose top performer at the wide receiver position was Jameis Crowder at 7 catches, 115 yards, and the score from Sam Darnold. Next matchup, Chicago Bears, 27-23 over the Detroit Lions. Lions had this game until the Bears reeled off 21 points in the fourth quarter to take this game away from the Detroit Lions. Once again, Ralph Cramden just couldn't help the Detroit Lions get the win in this one. Trubisky, 20 of 36, 242. He had 3 touchdowns in this matchup. Montgomery, 13 carries, 64 yards. And, of course, you look at Allen Robinson, who's their top threat, 5 catches for 74 yards. Hey, Adrian Peterson, 14 carries, 93 yards in the game for Detroit. Peterson played a big point apart for him in the matchup. Just wasn't enough, 27-23 in this matchup. Mozzie, feel free to jump in any of these matchups. As you see, feel free to want to comment. We just hit you with the Bills and the Jets. The Bears up 27-23 over the Lions. Packers 43-34 to get the better of the Vikings. Anytime the Vikings lose, I'm happy. Aaron Rodgers was able to get it done on a 4-touchdown performance yesterday, despite the Vikings scoring 24 in the fourth, and that was a real troubling trend that you've seen, that teams were scoring a lot of points in the fourth quarter. You seen the Bears put up 21. You seen what what happened with Vikings putting up 24 in the fourth quarter. Nonetheless, 4-touchdown performance by Aaron Rodgers, 32 of 44, 364 in the game. Aaron Jones, the running back, 16 carries, 66 yards, and 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams was the top threat. 14 catches. Boy, he was a fantasy value yesterday. 14 catches, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Devontae Adams, the top wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. 43-34 Packers up. They stopped the Vikings. Far before I move to the next one, comment on any one of those past 3 I talked about.
Oh, absolutely. First off, Aaron Rodgers is my franchise quarterback. We got him franchise tagged in that fantasy. He delivered 50 for me yesterday in an unbelievable performance. I didn't think he had it in him at that age, but I mean, again, him and Trubisky both looked to the end of that bench and saw their replacement looking directly at him in their face, and they went out there and played lights out. I don't know what happened with Trubisky. I don't know if he went and got some Gatorade or some water or was tying his cleats and looked up and saw Nick Foles sitting on the end of that bench. And then he said, wait a minute, man, I might be out of job if I don't turn this thing around. And he went out there in the full quarter and played lights out. Same thing for Rodgers. Rodgers playing with a chip on his shoulder like, man, hey, if we get this kind of Aaron Rodgers the whole season, it could spell trouble for a lot of people in the NFC, because I don't know if you remember, but a lot of people thought that Green Bay's run last year was kind of because it was pedestrian, so it was kind of under the radar. Nobody really paid attention to it. So when they popped up in the playoffs, and like they did, went deep, everybody was like, "Oh my God, Green Bay doesn't deserve it." They kind of paper champs. Nobody saw it coming. But like this year, I think Aaron Rodgers is playing like totally out of his body, out of his mind, and a lot of people could be in trouble. Trubisky, he got to take it on a game by game basis, and he better deliver quick. He better always remember Nick Foles in the back of his mind every time he looks down towards the end of that bench. Lastly, with Sam Darnold and what they were able to do out there yesterday, I think that all of these teams have kind of like stepped their game up 2 or 3 notches or 2 or 3 folds. And a lot of the people who you thought may have been trash or garbage over the last 2 or 3 seasons, I think a lot more balance is about to come to the NFL than more than we've ever seen. I think we kind of seen in the NBA as well. Not so much of a changing of the guards as much as it is more diversity, more balance. Teams you haven't heard of in a while, I think their names will start to be in the hat here moving forward throughout the rest of this season and going forward in both the NBA and the NFL, as we're witnessing in the Eastern Conference, a total shakeup there, and a possible shakeup in the Western Conference. Obviously, the Lakers all shake up within themselves because they haven't been since 2012, and either the Clippers or the Clippers or the Nuggets will be a shakeup as well. So we're witnessing a transgression in the sports world as we know it.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup. New England Patriots against the Miami Dolphins. 21-11 was the final score. Cam Newton, a lot of people had eyes on Cam to see what he can do. And this was 15 of 19, 155 yards throwing the ball. He was sacked a couple of times, but his real work was on the ground once again. 15 rushes for him, 75 yards, and scored twice to help them win this game. Top threat was Julian Edelman. He finished with 5 catches for 57 yards. He didn't throw any touchdowns or interceptions, but basically Cam beat the Dolphins with his legs in this one, 21-11. Any surprise on Cam doing this thing against the Dolphins, the witless Dolphins, who, by the way, didn't have Tua involved. They used Fitzmagic, who had no magic. 20 of 30, 191. Some gun through 3 interceptions, man. I mean, you can live with the rookie. You can't have the veteran throwing 3 damn interceptions in a matchup like this. Washington, the Washington Football Club against the Eagles. This was a big upset. A lot of Eagles fans were upset. They should have been able to beat a team without a mascot. Washington comes back, handled business, scored 13 in the fourth quarter, beat them 27-17. You got beat with a team that don't even have a mascot. How's that work? Carson Wentz, 24-42, 272 touchdowns. Didn't make a little bit of difference as they go down in the matchup. And this team is playing for its coach. They had a lot of turmoil. Dwayne Haskins had 17 of 31, 178, had a score. Nothing really fantastical that he did. Terry McLaurin had 5 catches, 61 yards in the matchup. Philly loses a really interesting week 1 matchup convincingly, 27-17, 10-point loss to the Eagles. Maz, you want to chime in on any one of those?
No, I mean, here it is, man. We knew Cam would do what Cam was going to do. Just like Aaron Rodgers and Mitch Trubisky, who we talked about a second ago. He's also playing with a chip on his shoulder, and he's kind of a middle-aged guy, middle of the road guy, where he's not as old as Brady and Breeze, but he's no spring chicken. He's not Joe Burrow either. So he's playing for his NFL career, because if this doesn't work out, his role will be relegated to the tragic NFL journeyman. Well, he'll bounce around to 3 or 4 teams in a couple of seasons. He'll be a thing of the past. He doesn't want that, so he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. And if he's got to get it done himself because they refuse to put the pieces around him, unlike Brady, he has the athleticism and mobility to make that happen. Had that been the Brady team, he'd have tried to force the issue with his arm, possibly gotten frustrated on the sideline, tried to pick apart game film. Cam Newton just said, man, hike it to me and I'm going to take off with my feet and make it happen. That's what he's always done. He's been doing this since we watched him at Auburn. So this is no surprise there. And Miami better kind of figure it out. I understand what they're trying to do, and they want to work to win. They kind of nursing his old injury and trying to see where he is mentally, if he can, man. But you don't have time for that. You've been a losing organization for 15 years. Hadn't been to the playoffs in at least 5 or 6, or better. Y'all better make something happen fast. You got a proven winner sitting on the sideline trying to let him study behind somebody that's an NFL journeyman who has never really won anything in his life. So I think it's time for Fitzpatrick to assume the position as the journeyman. Let Tua go in. If I'm gonna make mistakes, I'm gonna make mistakes with the guy who I bet my future of my ball club on. I'm not making mistakes with the veteran guy, as you pointed out too. I'm gonna throw my rookie in there, and whatever happens, because at least that way there's no expectations for us to do anything. But anytime I put a veteran guy in, a couple of the pieces that I brought in to kind of help aid in me winning, and it's not working, I think there's a lot more expectations with Fitzpatrick than it will be with Tua. So I would just put Tua in and allow Tua to grow this season, especially with no fans. There's not a lot of pressure. I mean, it's just a perfect opportunity for him to go out and get all of his bumps and bruises out the way now. That way, when things return to normal, hopefully you have a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, that's true. I would definitely put Tua out there. He cleared all the protocols to go. I don't know what they're holding up for. Fitzpatrick comes out, throws 3 interceptions, plus they traded Rosen away. I mean, there's no transitional guy you could put in there that's let Tua sit. Very stupid decisions by the Dolphins. That's where the clown division sitting right next to the Pooh Browns of tonight. Both really jerky organizations, in my opinion. Moving on to the next topic of discussion, the Raiders. Raiders are not a jerky organization. They're trying to win some games. Better yet, they were able to beat the Carolina Panthers, who put on a really close and interesting fourth quarter where they scored 15 points. 34-30 was the final score. Teddy Bridgewater finished with 23 of 34, 270 yards, had 1 touchdown. McCaffrey, 23 carries, 96 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Robbie Anderson was the dude for them as well. He had 6 catches for 115 yards catching and 1 touchdown that he got. Derek Carr, 22 of 30, 239, threw a touchdown. And Josh Jacobs, the big burly back, was able to rush 25 times, 93 yards, compiled 3 rushing touchdowns on that team, on the Carolina Panthers. And Henry Ruggs, the spectacular speedster, had 3 catches for 55 yards. Darren Waller, who's the best kept secret in the NFL, had 6 catches for 45 yards for the Raiders as they get a win. They get a win there, 34-30, and we head to Las Vegas next as the Saints take on this team. Jaguars, 27-20, they take down the Colts in a surprise. Phillip Rivers, 36 of 46, 363, 1 touchdown in the matchup. Jaguars handle business in this affair. Paris Campbell, the wide receiver for the Colts, 6 catches, 71 yards in the affair. Minshew, Gardner Minshew continues to step up. He had a 3-touchdown performance. He threw 3 touchdowns, 19 of 20, 173, 3 touchdowns in the matchup. James Robinson, the top back for the Jaguars after giving up Fournette. They get a win. They win. Top man was Keelan Cole, senior, the wide receiver, 5 catches, 47 yards, 1 touchdown in the matchup. Jaguars 27-20, knocking the Colts upside the head to get a win early on. Good for the Jaguars, man. You know, that won't help their prospects of trashing for Trevor. So they might have to bench Minshew and put the 3rd string in if they want to keep losing. Ravens up next, 38-60. Remember I talked about a trash organization and a jerky team? Remember that? 38-6 was the Rams. The Ravens smacked the Browns down. Remember all this talk about the Browns being ready for a playoff battle or finally winning games and all this kind of nonsense? Lamar Jackson put the kibosh on that. He had 20 of 25, 275, 3 touchdowns in the matchup. And like I said about Lamar Jackson, shame on those who keep talking about this guy as a gimmick quarterback. This guy is the real deal. I've been saying it. Not only did he throw 3 touchdowns and also had 275 yards passing on 25 attempts, 20 of 25, by the way. He also led the team with rushing, 7 carries for 45 yards. Marquise Brown, top target, 5 catches, 101, no touchdowns. Mayfield, 21 of 39, 189, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Hunt, 13 carries, 72 yards for them, no scores. Jarvis Landry, 5 catches, 61 yards, no touchdowns for them. 38-6, everything that could go wrong for the Browns went wrong for the Browns in this game. They did not show up for this matchup. And then Chargers, looking at them, Chargers and the Bengals. Joey B's first performance out. I wanted to see what it looked like for Joey B. You know, we LSU guys. Didn't look too good for Joey B. Wasn't that bad. 23 of 36, 193, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. Joe Mixon got carries 19 times, 69 yards in the game, no touchdown. AJ Green, 5 catches, 51 yards in the matchup for the Browns. Tyler Boyd, 16 of 30 for the Chargers, 208, no interceptions, no picks. Austin Eckler, 19 carries, 84 yards in the matchup. Hunter Henry led the team in catches, 573. The Chargers were able to beat the Bengals 16-13 to get a Week 1 win as well. And of course, we're looking at 2 more matchups, and I want Mozzie to chime in on any one of them that he feels free, or several of them, it doesn't make a difference. The Cardinals were able to beat the 49ers in Week 1. A lot of people had the 49ers there, but listen, Kyler Murray says, we're going to make some stuff happen. Jimmy Garoppolo 2 touchdowns on 19 of 33, 259 yards in the matchup for the San Francisco 49ers. Not bad. Raheem Mostert was held under 60 yards on 15 carries. He was also the top receiver, 4 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown. The Cardinals, however, Kyler Murray showing you, also my fantasy guy, 26 of 40, 230, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked a couple of times, but the cool part about it is Kyler Murray led the team in rushing. He had 13 carries for 91 rushing yards and a touchdown. Kid is phenomenal. No, and you want to talk about D. Hopkins' opening performance? He had 14 catches, 151 yards, no touchdowns. Very impressive. And Larry Fitzgerald, the 1,000-year-old Larry Fitzgerald, 1,000-year-old wide receiver, 4 catches, 34 yards, 24-20. 14 points in the fourth quarter to take the game away from the San Francisco 49ers in this matchup. Kyler Murray, man, I keep telling him about this young kid. He's going to be special. And, of course, the game of all games that I really loved more than Atlanta losing was the fact that the Cowgirls, that's right, the Dallas Cowgirls lost last night to make everything all right. Carolina lost, Atlanta lost, we thumped Tampa Bay, and of course the Cowgirls also lost, and the 49ers lost, and the Vikings lost. It was a week 1 Saints bonanza to all the Saints fans, man. We had a terrific week 1, to keep it real with you. The Rams finished the day 20-17 over the Cowgirls, and that's how it went. Jared Goff finished 20 of 31. He had an interception, nothing fantastic. Malcolm Brown, 18 carries, 79 yards, 2 scores in the game. Top receiver was Robert Woods, 6 catches, 105 yards, pretty good day. Dak Prescott, 25 of 39, 266, 1 touchdown. Zeke Elliott, 22 carries, 96 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. And of course, Cooper had a really good day. No touchdowns though, 10 catches, 81 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 wins for the Cowgirls. 20-17, they go down. Uncle Mazi, please feel free to chime on any one of those games, if you please.
All right. Well, first off, that was man. You went through that. You was better than Chris Collins, the other Swami, my counterpart. I was waiting for you to say he could go all the way somewhere up in that area, but I want to touch on a few things. First off, shout out to the Jacksonville Sad Wars. They actually picked up a win. I know that the coaching staff and management wasn't happy about that, and it reminds me, the Sad Wars and Minshew remind me of one of those what they call that, those rom-com movies. Where you got the guy who's best friends with the girl, but he really likes the girl, and the girl doesn't realize she really likes him, but she's constantly trying to date other guys, and it never works out, and she's always going back telling the other guy about her failed relationships.
Yeah, because he trapped in a friend zone.
You're right. What are the Sad Wars doing? The mustache Minshew is trapped in a friend zone here, bro. He's the guy who's in love with the Jaguars, but the Jaguars are just not in love with him. And it's not, and you know the crazy part, the guy has a winning record. He's won some serious games for these people. So I don't know why you just, and he's still winning after you eliminate you take away what little pieces he had left when he was winning last year. So I don't know why they're searching or hunting for something different, but like this guy got you 4 or 5 wins, 6 wins last year when your starter went down. Now you got rid of everybody, and he got your first win over a quality opponent with a first or second ballot Hall of Fame quarterback on their team. This guy is not as bad as people may want to say he is, or they think he is. And with that being said, I think that they might want to explore maybe building, putting something around him if they want to try to salvage this season, because they already got a divisional win on top of that. So, maybe this is the time they want to rethink things and say, well, we might have something with Gardner. Let's see how far we can go with him. And then maybe we can go in the draft, instead of having to go get Trevor, we can go get another piece, or possibly grab Trevor and negotiate Trevor for some other pieces in trade if we happen to suck that bad. But I think Minshew wouldn't be a bad fit in Jacksonville because he honestly wants to be there. And that's the thing. With free agents, it's tough to get them to go to a market like Jacksonville. Through the draft, the guy that's coming over there maybe less skilled than what you already got because he's coming straight out of the college ranks, or he may not have wanted to go there, and it may be an issue there. But Gardner Minshew genuinely wants to be in Jacksonville. Now, another thing that I didn't like, Burrow's performance, consider he did get a rushing touchdown, which was an oddity for him. I didn't think he would show his mysterious wheels this fast, this early into his NFL career. But he did a pretty good job. What I didn't like about it was they asked this guy, no preseason, limited training camp, rookie quarterback, to come out and throw the ball 36 times. That was incredible for me. When I saw that, I was like, man, they're not showing him no mercy. They just put this uniform on and go slave for us immediately. I get he was the number 1 overall pick. I get he had an unbelievable season. I get he was a Heisman winner, but that's a lot, man. To ask your first time ever, first year, limited practice, COVID-19 quarterback to come out and throw the ball 36 times, his first game ever. Kyler Murray, same thing. He threw the ball 40, bro. When you throw the ball 40 times and still finish the game as the leading rusher by almost hitting the century mark, that's too much emphasis on one player. I understand they beat the 49ers, but we know how the 49ers are. The 49ers will come out and have a record trend-setting year, and then you won't hear from them for another 4 years. That's the way the 49ers operate. So them having an off year wouldn't shock me, because this is who the 49ers have always been traditionally. With the exception of the Bill Walsh 80s days, the success they had in the mid-90s, it was a one and done. The success they had in the early 2010s was a one and done. And here we are now. The success they had last year could possibly or potentially be a one and done. But again, you're asking for 32 passes from Garoppolo? That's not who he is. These teams better get some balance quick. I don't know what's going on with the running game. I don't know if they just totally shelving the running attack altogether. And I know that Kyle has a tendency to try to mimic his dad in that regard. They want to go kind of, wants to this high prolific, fancy throwing the ball all over the place kind of offense. I get that. But Garoppolo is not built for that. That's not who Garoppolo is. That's not who Garoppolo will ever be. Garoppolo is a phenomenal game manager. He's slightly better than Brad Johnson in that regard. He's the new Brad Johnson. He's a slightly better passer than Brad Johnson. More of a game manager than a facilitator or trying to force the issue, if that makes sense. But shouts out to everybody. It was a great weekend for the Saints Nation. But I think a lot of these guys, man, they just got way too much on their plate. And while we're on that subject, last thing I'm gonna touch on is Las Vegas. Here's the thing: the Panthers didn't play bad yesterday at all. Bridgewater had a really good game. McCaffrey had a really good game. I think that the 23 carries and still not reaching the century mark, they don't win that way. He's got to have the only way they win, he's got to have 100 yards or better. And if it's not 100 yards rushing, he's got to split it. He's got to be maybe 70, 80 yards rushing and maybe 85, 90 yards receiving out the backfield, maybe some screens, checkdowns, different stuff like that. But he's got to get more actively involved in the offense. Just simply rushing him 23 times for under a century, for under that 100-yard mark, it's not going to work for this team. But we got to stop talking about Las Vegas like they're not really well run. And they got I think that Las Vegas is only 1 or 2 pieces away. I think if maybe they either upgraded at the quarterback position or had somebody that could take the top off the defense from a receiver standpoint that could really catch the ball, a really good deep threat, because that's one of Carr's weak strong points. He has a really good strong arm. Not the most accurate quarterback in the world, but he does have a really good arm. And that's why they brought AB over last year to try to exploit and expose would-be defenses against that arm. Only issue for Las Vegas, they are in the same division as the Broncos, who has a pretty good team, and obviously the Kansas City Chiefs that they gotta kind of get around. San Diego not being a threat they used to be in the past. We can look for this Las Vegas team to have a pretty deep run into the playoffs, because I think they will make it even as a wild card, because they have Kansas City up against them. But this Las Vegas team is only 1, maybe 2 pieces away from being a really elite team in the AFC.
Henry Ruggs is a deep weapon they got there as well. So we're gonna see how he shakes out too, because he's a deep threat wide receiver that should help. All right, let's keep it moving. Going to the next leg of things. The Steelers and Giants play tonight on Monday Night Football, 6:15 Central Time. Little football tonight. Steelers trying to get it done against the Giants. We'll see how that shakes. And of course, the second game at 9:10 Central Time. Tennessee Titans, deep playoff run last year, take on Mozzie says the talented Broncos. The Broncos led by Drew Lock, and they have all these weapons, Noah Fant and Peyton Hillis and all these guys. We'll see if they finally can put it together. That young team with all the weapons they have, wide receivers, they're interesting. Von Miller's not there, but they do have some other weapons in place, both offense and defenses. Those teams meet up tonight. It's a really interesting matchup, Titans and Denver. We'll see. That's happening tonight. Let's move into some more football news. We're going to talk a little injury report, injury wire situation. Mike Thomas, of course, we reported that he suffered a high ankle sprain. We covered that at the onset of the show. And that was when, of course, Latavius Murray fell on the back of his foot. But he was able to pull the foot from up under him and didn't get totally trapped. But according to reports by Tom Pelissero, saying that the sources informed him that he suffered an injury during the game and played 80.3% of New Orleans offensive snaps in the victory, at least providing a sample size of what he can do. And we'll see how it shakes going forward. There is no word on whether or not he'll be able to play in the upcoming matchup against those said Las Vegas Raiders. But if he can't go, Emmanuel Sanders and of course other guys like Traquan Smith get an opportunity to step up, and the rest of the wide receiver core will have to fill in for Mike if he can't go with the high ankle sprain issue. So we'll see, man. That's what's interesting. But also I want people to note that a high ankle sprain is not exactly what it used to be, where the high ankle sprain will sideline you for 2 to 4 weeks. You know, the treatment has gotten a lot better on there, and we'll see just how bad it is, man. Colts running back Marlon Mack is also out of the season. I'd rather have what Mike has than to have what Marlon Mack has, which is a torn Achilles. He's pretty much out for the rest of the season. And that was also reported that that happened in the Jacksonville matchup in which they went down. And too bad, because Mack Thurn, he had 4 carries, 26 yards, 3 catches for 30 before leaving with the injury. He had a pretty damn good campaign in 2019, rushed almost for 1,100 yards. And but he's never played in a full 16-game schedule. He's a fantastic talent, man. He's just so many injuries have derailed him. And finally, Vander Esch undergoes surgery on the collarbone. Linebacker Kyle Vander Esch has a collarbone injury, and people thinking that will sideline him for the rest of the year. That was also reported by NFL Network, saying that it would require surgery. But they're saying they elevated the timeline, says between 6 to 8 weeks. We'll see. And then Stephen Jones, the owner of the Cowboys' son, came out and said later Monday that Jarwin, their tight end, will also miss season. So Vander Esch will be out between 6 to 8 weeks, and their starting tight end Jarwin is out for the rest of the season. So more news for the Cowgirls in that loss to the Rams. Now, Mozzie, going forward, man, you want to comment on the rest of those stories, perhaps the matchups going on tonight between Steelers, Giants, Titans, and Broncos?
Yeah, actually we can, because I mean they're going crazy in the comments anyway, because they want predictions. Obviously they want my predictions because I am the Swami. So I'm gonna go ahead on and bless y'all right quick from my perspective, since I am the Swami. And we can all agree and attest to that. Game 1, we got Pittsburgh and the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. That's who's kicking it off. I think that starts at about 6 o'clock, 6:15 tonight. In this one, man, I gotta take the Steelers, man. Big Ben is back. I think that the Steelers are gonna come out. They want to rekindle and refine their winning ways. I think that it's just going to be overwhelming for Daniel Jones and company. Even if Barkley happens to reach that century mark or better, I think that Pittsburgh will just be a little too much for him, to bite off and chew coming out. I still think they're a couple years off. I think that Daniel Jones is the answer. I think it's the same Gardner Minshew thing that they got going on over there. I think that Daniel Jones is not the most elitist of elite people, but I think that they've made peace with it, that he's their guy, and they're moving forward with it, and good for them. So that, they can kind of, move forward with their franchise. But I still think that Pittsburgh beats them. Next, we got Tennessee and Denver. I got to go with my Broncos, bro. I got to go with my Broncos. I done talked about them enough. I got to go with them. I'm a Nuggets fan. I'm picking the Nuggets. So I got to ride with the Broncos. Although I do like Tennessee, and I like their grit. I like their old school, tenacious grit. This reminds me of a old school LA Raider, Roger Craig, San Francisco 49er, Bo Jackson Raider type of running, really super aggressive, hard-nosed, pin your ears back type defense that send these exotic blitzes and go after the quarterback every play. And that's what I like about Tennessee. They kind of represent their town. They kind of represent what they are. And it's cool. I get it. I understand. But I just think that Denver and what they're building out there is going to be a little too much fun, especially playing that late at night, kind of on the West Coast in the mountains, mile high. I just like Denver in this game. Not by much, but I do like Denver to eke out the win. I'm thinking I'm going to make my bold predictions. I like Pittsburgh to be more of a defensive battle. So I'm gonna say that one's going to be 16-10 Pittsburgh, and I'm going to say that Denver and Tennessee, I'm going to say that game is going to be 27-24 Denver.
Yeah, that's interesting because the way I see it is Drew Lock, man, if he's serious about taking the team to a next level, he has all the components made there. Melvin Gordon was signed in the offseason. He sits ahead of Philip Lindsay on the man. Then they have excellent wide receiver play. I think Courtland Sutton is questionable, but Jared Judy's there. They had KJ Hamler, who I think is also questionable for this matchup. But they have young, really excellent wide receiver play. Noah Fant is big. They finally look like they might have gotten an offensive line together. Well, Garrett Bowles has some injuries. Lloyd Cushenberry, our guy from LSU, is the center of the team. We'll see if they can make it. And the defense has always been a strength of the Broncos club the last several seasons. Jarrell Casey, Bradley Chubb will have to they'll some kind of way of pick up for Von Miller, who's out. But remember, they still have Jeremiah Atachu, who came over from the
bless you
from the came over from the Chargers. So you also have AJ Bouye as well as the cornerback there, and Kareem Jackson back there. Justin Simmons is a pretty good safety in his own right. So they do have the pieces in place to be an interesting defense. Mark Barron was also signed to the team as well. Can they all put it together this year? People will be looking tonight to see if they do. The Swami says they do, so we'll just see if we can ride with them on that. So thank y'all, appreciate y'all. I'd like to give a big shout out to all the family members in the chat as well that came back for this one after we had some technical issues with the previous show. GM Kev, big up. Brian Pearson, Troll Blewett, good to see you. Capman in 2020 as well. Ken Rasa, Bloodstone, and the rest of the family members. Jerry, I see you, Jerry. Big ups to you. Todd Redu, Marvin Norman, big ups to the family members joining us in this edition of TSC Unleashed. Now, we'll return tomorrow with more football talk. We'll recap what happened in NFL games tonight. We'll also talk about some NBA playoffs, and we'll have some other news to talk about as well. Injuries and boxing perhaps as well. So thank y'all for joining us on TSC Unleashed. Please hit the subscribe button. If you're not a subscriber, please share the link on your social media. We thank you guys for supporting the stream, and we'll see you later on TSC as we recap the latest news on the Saints. Much love to you, Who Dat, and we'll see you later. Peace.